want to make it as interactive. Interactive means that because this is a basic Buddhism, I think most of you are quite familiar, but we still need to go back to the book because the Buddha is teaching is a very nice book to read. So we will read along, and I will not read all the time because I will be very tiring. So I will invite some of you can just read maybe one paragraph, and after that, maybe at each paragraph we will stop and we will do the analysis. So it's better, because if I going to read the book from beginning to end, there's you all no need to attend this Zoom class. You all can read by yourself, right? So, but we are going to analyze because when the moment you analyze, you will be more interested. Actually, the purpose of this course is to help the Bande here and then the Venerable Sadhananda because they want to attend my university. There will be entrance exam in January next year. So to prepare them for the entrance exam, and because we don't know what kind of question will come out, if six question, it might be talking about Buddhism or karma, or maybe talking about dependent origination, or maybe 10 wholesome, unwholesome deeds or whatever. So to help them also to sit for the exam. All right. So okay. So okay, we will start here. I think you all have the book, right? The Buddha and his teaching. All right. So I wish to do a share screen. All right. So one thing about to reduce the noises, so I hope you all if your environment is very noisy, you all use earphone is better. If your environment is noisy, right? If not noisy, if you are in your private room, then you can don't use the earphone. Okay? Because if you are sitting in your dining hall and your family member is talking to you, so it's better use the earphone because it blocks the noise. All right. And if you want to say something, maybe you can use the Zoom to raise the hand. All right. If not, you can just say, excuse me, Sergey, or whatever. Right. But we don't want many people talk because it creates lots of noise. Okay. So I'm going to start now with the screen. Okay. Can you see my screen? All right.
Yes. Yes, I do.
All right. Okay. Now, this one. Okay. So, for this, let me see. Right. So the Buddha is teaching by Venerable Narada. Actually, in fact, I learned the very first Buddhism book, the Dhamma book I learned when I was working in Singapore about how many years ago? 25 years ago. So there was the one teach by one of the lay person called, I think, brother, I cannot remember his name. But he did a very good teaching because his teacher was Venerable Narada. So based on this book, because this book is very systematic and the English very good and it have a very good coverage. All right. So what we do is there will be chapter 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you follow this one, you actually follow the life story of the Buddha. And then actually, I really hope that we have time to go for deep topic like the Four Noble Truths, 17, karma. All these are big topic, but it's very important. And then the plan of existence, 31 plans, rebirth, and what is reborn non soul. Okay. And then the karma and so on. So if we can reach the chapter, this is good. All right. But to reach there, if we are going to take one chapter per week, this means that it will take us 40 weeks. But I think it's maybe too long. What I do, we just warm up first. We go for a simple topic, and as we go, maybe I will choose certain topic. We can just jump to the Four Noble Truths if we need to do. All right, because to help to Venerable Bande and then the Venerable Sadhanandi. Right. Okay, now we go for chapter 1. Okay, so the Buddha, the chapter 1, the birth. All right, so I want somebody to read because I want to save my voice. So Venerable Sadhanandi, can you read this chapter birth on a page, I think paragraph 1 and continue to next paragraph.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
From birth to renunciation. A unique being and extraordinary man.
From the birth. Okay, from the birth.
Okay.
All right.
On the full moon day of May, in the year 623 before century, there was born in the Lumini Parks at Kapilavatthu on the Indian border of present Nepal. a normal prince who was destined to be the greatest religious teacher of the world. His father was King Sunodana of the aristocratic Sakya king, and his mother was Queen Mahamaya. As the beloved mother died 7 days after his birth, Mahapajapati Potami, her younger sister, who was also married to the king, adopted the child, entrusting her own son Nanda to take to the care of the nurses.
Okay. So, all right, thanks. So from these two paragraphs, okay. So of course there is a footnote there, all right. So from these two paragraphs, so what we do is besides just reading, we are going to analyze what do you think these two paragraphs is important. What is the main point by Venerable Sada Nandi?
The places, the
Places and
the places they are the Buddha bones.
Okay,
and the
beside
father,
places, the father, okay,
and the mother,
the mother, all right, okay, and what else?
and the Dharma, the old son, that one.
Okay, all right. So from this one, let's say if we're going to all right. So these are some of the things that is like what I mentioned to you all just now, right? So later I will go through this one, right? So let's say we are going to the fifth chapter, okay, we're on the first and second, second paragraph, all right? So it's actually introduced us to we call it the family, right? Family of the Buddha to be, right? Okay, so far can you remember the name? How many names? Beside the family, also talking about the place and time, all right? So what is the place? What is the time? The place is
Lumbini.
Lumbini at the Kapilavastu, all right? At the Nepal, all right? So is there a Nepal at that time?
Lumbini.
Yeah, at that time got Lumbini, but there's no Nepal at that time, right? Okay, right. So the place is 623 BC. All right. So here, I mean, for everybody, even for those who are taking exam, at least you need to remember some date, no? BC. All right. Place is at the Lumbini Park in Kapilavastu. Father, okay. Now, father of the Buddha. So the father is father King Sudodana, mother
Queen Mahamaya.
Okay. Queen Mahamaya. Stepmother.
Mahapajapati Gautami.
Maybe you let the Sally answer, Sumita.
Sorry.
Okay. Right. So, whenever Sada Nandi, stepmother is?
Mahapajapati Gautami.
Yeah. Okay. So, Mahapajapati Gautami. So, if you can remember, Mahapajapati Gautami. And then there will be also another person mentioned. The on sign is Nanda. Okay, so Pajapati. All right. So by this paragraph, we actually get the father, the family, the place and time. So do you think this is important? So when reading these two first and second paragraph, what is besides talking about this family and then the father, what do you think is the significance here? Okay, so maybe you look at the footnote. Okay, so we go back to the footnote. So we just look at the footnote. So well, no need to read out. So just have a look and can you identify some important facts from here?
The Vesak.
Vesak, okay. All right, it's talking about Vesak. There's a Vesak here. And what else?
the pillar of King Asoka.
Okay. King Asoka, yes. Pillar of King Asoka, yes. And
And the Gautama, the feminine,
sorry,
the Sakya.
Sakyan. All right. Sakyan, all right. Sakya, yeah, Gautama and Sakya, all right. So do you think reading the footnote is important?
Yes.
Yes, actually, when you just read the text, you miss out lots of points. But actually, when you read the footnotes, it actually give a lot of information. So for you all who are studying Buddhism or any book, never forget the footnote. It provides lots of very important information. All right, so we just can from this page, let us do some significance. All right, so what it says that it talks about Vesak Day, right? What else? The what? Asoka King Asoka Leader. Okay, and next one is
Next one
Sakya.
is the Sakyan.
Sakyan. Okay. Sakyan race. Okay. And then the next one is
Gautama, the feminine.
Gautama. All right. So there's another one. Kapilawatu.
Kapilawati.
Yeah. Okay. So beside the Sakyan race and then the name, I think Gautama is a clan here. And then the Kapilawatu. Okay. Now we are talking about significance. All right. So from Vesak Day, what do we know by Vesak Day? You know, now we go back. Let's say if people ask you, what is the Vesak Day? How will you describe Vesak Day? Vesak Day signifies what? The birth. What else?
The
Sorry.
The birth of the Buddha.
Okay, and
the enlightenment.
okay.
Enlightenment.
Right, enlightenment. And then the
Passing away.
yeah, the final, we call it the final passing away, which means that it's a Pali
Parinipana.
all right. And then from the Asuka pillar is actually at this Kapilawatu, all right. So what actually is the significance here? It's actually, I think maybe I'm not sure you all know it. It's talking about we call it archaeological evidence. This is very important, you know, because how do you know that the Buddha really exists in the world, right? This is to show the existence of the Buddha. Because in the Asoka pillar, it mentioned that the Buddha really exists there, right? And then of course, the Sakyan race and this one, all right? So from simple things like this, we really learn a lot, all right? We learn about the Buddha and then the history and so on, okay? So Venerable Sadanandi, can you follow the logic of how we think, you know, because you're all going to sit for exam, so better think now, right?
Okay.
Okay. So this means that if people, okay, let's say if I'm going to write you a question, right? So let's say in an exam, and then the question comes to be like, okay, describe the family of the Buddha. Such thing may come out, right? Yeah, right? Or it's talking about describe the significance of Asoka pillar at Kapila Watu, right? At the what Lumbini. Now we see the Asoka pillar at the Lumbini Park. Okay, all right. So by this chapter 1, you will get all the information. All right. So this is better you have some concept about the Buddhism now. The story about the Buddhism, story about the Buddha. Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks. All right. So like this, we are doing the not just read, you know. If you're going to read anything, you feel bored. But if you every time you read something, you're all going to analyze. Okay. So we go back to this one. All right. So the purpose of this basic Buddhism course is to help those interested first to have a solid foundation on Buddhism. Right. For those teachers are interested to teach and share your knowledge with others, preparation for exam, right? For these two vulnerable starting of today. And way to achieve these purposes is first, you need to active learning and active participation. Like just now, you know, you all just don't learn. when you learn very passive, all right, we call it not passive learning. If you learn very passively, you will forget, I would say 90%. But if you learn actively, at least maybe hopefully 90 or 70%. All right, so we are going to read like just now, and we are going to analyze the key important points, events. And we ask the question like just now, who is the father? Okay, what is the significance of the Lumbini? When? It's a 623. Where? Lumbini. How? Okay, how is not mentioned here. Then if you're interested, based on just now, you all can write a short assignment about the Buddha's family and so on, right? So the purpose of asking you all to write, because you write and I have time, I will read, then I give you some feedback, then you can learn some points about maybe some weak points of which one you should enforce, like in your writing. Because for those who are sitting for exam, you need to learn how to write, right? And then after that, so even like in my university, if you're going there, they will ask you question. You need to know how to present your ideas to the audience. So this is important, not just sit and listen, but you need to think how to say it. So the book we study is the Buddha and Teaching. There will be also another book, Chronicle of the Buddhas. It's a very good book, but it's 1,700 pages. It's very thick. I read this book before. It took me 3 months. Very thick book. Okay, now we're on the chapter 1, all right? So we cover the first and second paragraph, all right? Okay, now we will go for continue. We're not on the chapter 2 yet. Let's continue with the... Right, can we invite Bande to read? All right, thanks, Venerable Sadhanandi. Yeah, so let's go for the next one. Bande, can you read this one, the next one?
Great were the rejoicings of the people over the birth of this illustrious prince. An ascetic of high spiritual attainments named Asita, also known as Kala Dewala, was particularly pleased to hear this happy news, and being a tutor of the king, visited the palace to see the royal baby. The king, who felt honored by his unexpected visit, carried the child up to him in order to make the child pay him due reverence. But to the surprise of all, the child's legs turned and rested on the matted locks of the ascetic. Instantly, the ascetic rose from his seat, and foreseeing with his supernormal vision the child's future greatness, saluted him with clasped hands. The royal father did likewise.
Okay, so for this, so maybe we are going to do like just now. Can you turn on your video? All right. Okay. Now, when you read this paragraph, what do you think is important point here? What is trying to tell? When the Venerable Narada he wrote this book, what do he really want to deliver the idea of this paragraph? What is the main key point here?
They were King Suddhodana was awaiting for the birth of this prince, and
Okay. Yes.
The ascetic of high spiritual attainment, Asita.
Okay. So we have one person here, Asita. All right. And then.
Also a tutor of the king.
Okay, so kalau Asita is a Kala Dewala, he's somebody with ascetic psychic power, and he was a tutor of the king. All right. Okay, and then so instead of just read, you already read the text. Can you just use your own maybe your own language? Just make it a summary. What you think about this? Just a summary.
Asita can foresee Buddha will be a very great person.
Okay, good. All right. Okay. So that's your key point, all right? So your Asita, he foresee that the baby will be a very great person. Okay. And then let's continue in the next paragraph.
The great ascetic smiled at first, and then was sad. Question regarding his mingled feelings. He answered that he smiled because the prince would eventually become a Buddha, an enlightened one, and he was sad because he would not be able to benefit by the superior wisdom of the enlightened one. owing to his prior death and rebirth in a formless plane, Arupaloka.
Okay, so this paragraph, what do you think it's trying to tell us?
Mm, Asita knew that he wouldn't be able to witness his enlightenment.
Okay, good. All right, so based on these two paragraphs, so we are going to write so this is paragraph number 3 and 4. Okay, so paragraph 3, what is trying to say just now? All right, so remember the paragraph 3, this one? Okay, so can you just write? I will write for you, so you just tell me based on this one. The Asita aesthetic. Okay, just maybe 1 line or 2 line. Okay, so what you want to write? Asita, the aesthetic, and then
Foresee that the baby will be a Buddha in the foreseeable future.
okay, also the child, okay, will be the Buddha, okay, and then then the number 4, and then what happened number 4?
Asita was sad because he knew he wouldn't be able to witness the Buddha's enlightenment.
Okay, so Asita was sad because he would not be able to witness the future Buddha, okay, or the Buddha in the future, okay, the Buddha in the future time. Okay, now you already mentioned why he cannot saw the future Buddha, right? Because of what?
Because
He
he was already
reborn.
old at that time. And
Yeah, he was old and reborn in
reborn in the Arupaloka.
Okay, so due to few facts, okay. So first is old, okay, and the second one, reborn in Arupa, formless state, or formless world. Okay, now based on these two paragraphs, let's say we're going to do significance like just now. We're going to do some analysis, okay? So what is trying to tell us why this person is so important? Why is it this? You know the Buddha story, there are many Buddha stories about incidents about the Buddha, but why is this 3 and 4 trying to show us? Why is it the Varna Narada trying to explain to us?
The significance
Mm-hmm.
is more to the something like the verse of Apamadena Sampadeta line.
Okay, so do not be heedless, right? Apanadena Sampadeta. So means heedlessness is not good. Are you going to say like this? Apamadena Sampadeta.
Oh yeah.
Okay, all right. And second one is? Okay, now we have the story about who. Who is the Asita? And Asita was the tutor, right? Ex-tutor to the king. All right. So we have let's say if we really cannot think of the idea, we go back to the question, who, what, when, where, how. Okay. So who is Asita? What is maybe what is him? He's ascetic. So when? So after the baby was born, where? Of course, in the royal palace, and how? Okay, we can ask this kind of question to make us open up, right? So if you think about who, what, when, where, how. So maybe can you think about any other significance? Okay, right? Who? I will say who. All right. For example, I will say Asita was very important. Okay, was very important. Okay, because he was a ascetic with psychic power. Okay, that's why he can see the Buddha. This one will be see this child will be the future Buddha, right? Because he can foresee the future. So in which way he was an ascetic that who can foresee the future, right? So this answers the question of who. Okay, and then maybe you say when. So let's say if you're going to answer the question of when, so when is this? What is the significance of this when? Okay. Maybe any other person want to answer. What do you think? Any other significance?
I think
Based on
when
this.
answer when answers the question of the future.
Okay, when refer to the
Future.
the future, because you will not see the Buddha in the future. All right, good. And then when, where, all right, so we say where. Let's say we are going to where. What is the where here? What is the important where? All right. Yes, maybe we say he will be born in a formless world. That's why in a formless world means that he has no body. If somebody with no body means no ear, so he cannot listen to the Dhamma. Cannot listen to the Dhamma. All right. So that's the important where, right? And then the what else? Where, how, when. All right. So we can ask this kind of question, then we can find out what's the significance. All right. Okay, Monday. All right. Okay. Thanks. All right. So
Okay, thank you.
anybody want to add on to significance of this paragraph 3 and 4? All right. If no, we will continue. Okay. All right. Maybe beside this hidden no good, maybe we are talking about practice also, right? How? Okay. Because Asita is only practicing with the samatha, right? Because at that time there's no vipassana, because he only practices samatha, and then of course because use the power of samatha, then he will gain psychic power, and then he will reborn in the formless world, and then he cannot be enlightenment because there's no vipassana, so no enlightenment is possible at that time. So there also another thing we think about that. All right, because no point, if he practices samatha, he can go to very very far place, but he will appear in a formless world, then he come back. When he come back to the world, maybe there's no more Buddha, no other future Buddha. Okay, the Buddha has no appear at the time. Okay, so if no, we continue to read some more. All right, and now you can see he feels sad and he feels happy. Smile. Oh, Bande, do you know why he smile? Bande?
Smile because he can see his future greatness.
Yeah, he saw the future greatness of the Buddha. All right, and then why he was sad? Sad because
He could not witness the
okay.
enlightenment of Buddha.
Yes. Oh, yes. Okay. So when he smiled and he was sad, then at that time the Buddha was very the King Sudarana was very afraid. He got frightened. Why his tutor, ex-teacher was smile and sad, was crying. Okay. Next, we can ask Doris. Doris is ex-teacher, right? Doris, ex-teacher.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Please, I need teacher voice.
Naming ceremony.
Hmm.
On the 5th day after the prince's birth, he was named Siddhartha, which means wish fulfilled. His family name was Gautama. In accordance with the ancient Indian custom, many learned Brahmins were invited to the palace for the naming ceremony. Amongst them, there were 8 distinguished men. Examining the characteristic marks of the child, 7 of them raised 2 fingers each, indicating of 2 alternative possibilities, and said that he would either become a universal monarch or a Buddha. But the youngest, Kondanya, who excelled others in wisdom, noticing the hair on the forehead turned to the right, raised only 1 finger and convincingly declared that the prince would definitely retire from the world and become a Buddha.
Okay, so based on this naming ceremony, okay, there's no more, all right? Can you tell me, let's say we start with the question of who, all right? Who, where, how? Okay, who is who?
Who
How
is,
many, what is the important person here?
there were 8 distinguished
All right, okay,
men,
so, yes,
and then they were, they trying to look at the baby
Okay.
and find out the characteristic marks of the child. And then out of the 8, the 7 of them raised they were mentioning that there are 2 possibilities, that the child would become a very great king or he would become a Buddha, except
Okay.
for one learned Brahmin who said that Kondanya, he said that no, he can only become the Buddha. He will definitely retire from the world and he will become the Buddha. I think
Okay.
he has seen certain traits in the baby. That's what made him say that, because the Kondanya was the most smartest of all among the 8 of them.
Right. So among the how many you have? 8 person?
7 of them.
8
Sorry,
person.
8 person.
10.
8
Yeah,
person.
10.
Yeah.
Okay. 8, 7, 8 out of 7 out of the 8. They have
Yeah.
2 fingers. So
2
that's why sometimes
fingers.
you remember you see the pending sometimes with 2 fingers and Kondanya is the one with the 1 finger.
1 finger.
Okay, there's a footnote number 10, right? Later when the Prince Siddhartha renounced the world, this same Kondanya, and then he with the 4 son of the other 7 Brahmins. So totally will be Kondanya plus 4, 5. So the
5.
other Pancha was here, right? So now we know Kondanya. So let's say you notice that Kondanya now the youngest, but when the time of the Buddha, was he the youngest among the 5?
Yes.
No.
Huh?
He will be the oldest.
Oh, the other 5, huh?
Yeah,
Sorry.
The first time,
The 5 are
Yeah.
are the sons, right?
4 sons. Yeah.
Sons.
Of the other
So
7
at that time, the
Brahmins.
Kondanya was already very old.
Very old.
Alright,
Yes.
okay. So the question is who, all right? So let's say now we're on the paragraph number on this naming ceremony. Okay. So right, Dory. So the who refer to one out of
the 7. The 7 8 Brahmins.
Oh,
8. Sorry. 8
So
Brahmins.
this is a Kondanya. Okay.
Kondanya.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this answer of who, all right? So who, okay. Then what else? Where? Maybe where is not important. Besides this, we're talking about significance. So significance will be the Kandanya and significance, okay. And then he's the smartest, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So actually the whole paragraph trying to tell us that he was the smartest. Okay. And then there's another thing. Do you notice that? You notice the body parts of the Buddha, right?
Yeah.
How
the
many
forehead.
How many great marks of the Buddha?
32.
32, right? 32.
Yes.
We call it the major marks, right? Of course, the minor marks there are more. And what else? So when you read this one, you also notice that before that we are talking about naming ceremony. Ceremony. So the Prince Siddhartha means wish fulfilled. Right.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so what is actually the Buddha name? His name is Siddhartha. Let's say Siddhatha. Siddhartha. You know the Buddha full name is? Do you know what is the Buddha full name?
Gautama.
Siddhartha Gautama. And of which friend?
Sakyan race.
Sakyan race, okay? So Siddhartha is his personal name, right?
Yes.
Gautama is the
Family name.
Yeah, family name, okay?
Family name, yeah.
And then race is Sakyan. All right, so we got this one, okay? All right, okay. So, and there's also another point, if you notice that. Universal or the Buddha.
Monarch.
Okay, so that means that at that point, the prince, the baby, he can have the 2 possibilities, right? 2 possibilities. He can be either the Buddha or he can be the we call it the universal monarch.
Universal
but later
monarch.
he will explain that the King Suddhodana prefer the baby to be the universal monarch.
Yeah. Oh, yes, yes.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's why the seven of the we call it the what you call it? Seven of them, they raise two fingers, right? To
Yeah,
show
two
that there are two
fingers.
possibilities. But only
Yeah.
the Kondaya, he raised,
One finger.
yeah, because he said definitely this one will be the,
Buddha.
yeah, he foresee the baby would be the future Buddha.
Buddha.
So that's why he definitely is only one finger. So if you notice, I think in Myanmar we see a lot of Buddha stories. So we notice that these two finger and one finger. Okay.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, right. So it's interesting, like if you analyze like
Yeah.
this. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Instead just read. Because if you are going to just read, it's passive learning. So we are doing the active learning, right?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Okay,
Thank you,
now.
Sayaji.
Okay, so next person, anybody want to volunteer?
Saiji,
Yes, Brother Cole.
just regarding just now that one,
Mhm.
there's no mention of 32 parts. It's only the hair turns to the right only.
Mhm. Yes, yes.
No?
But
So
the
there's
but
only
the but
one
but
aspect of
the
it.
all the for the Buddha, they are born with the 32 parts. Yeah, they are born. Although some of the parts maybe not grow out in a baby yet, like the teeth, the teeth. What is it, 40, right? Something like 20. All these are not cannot the baby will not be born with the whole set of the teeth. But the most of the marks are inside the baby. That's why they can see. You know why? Because before the Buddha born in the world, the Deva, the Brahma, they come to the earth, they already announced the characteristic of the Buddha. So I think that's one book I mentioned just now. So this Red Chronicle. It's a very good book, but it's very thick. What happened? Okay. So I was just looking at this book today.
Is it
because
Buddha Vamsa?
Yeah, Buddha Wangsa.
I read the book also.
Yeah, it's a very thick book. So in the Buddha Wangsa, I think at the end it mentioned about how sometimes people also ask, how do you know that the 32 marks of the Buddha? Okay. So, let me see. Okay, this one, all right? You notice this one? Purala Kappa Chakrawati, right? And then the 1669. Let's see. Hopefully we can find the one. So this is a very thick book. Which page now? 1669. So this book, if you want to read, it will take you about 3 months. It's 1,700 pages. So 116 on which page now? Okay. Now this book is talking about, like previously people say Mangala. How you know? There's also one before it's talking about like this. About 12 years from now, the Buddha will teach Mangala. That's why people know about the Mangala at that time. Yeah, okay. Then also another Buddha Koralahala. Alright. It's talking about many years before the Buddha come. So they also kind of like announcement about how the Buddha will be. This one, alright? Okay, the predicting in the word the Buddha is called Buddha. So the Brahma, they already mentioned, they already explained to the world that the Buddha will arise. Okay. See the Brahma, they say from 1,000 years ago, the Buddha will come to the world. So then they also explain the characteristic of the Buddha. So that's why the ancient India at that time, the people already know what the Buddha will look like. All right. So it's also in the Sanskrit text also on. All right. Because of this Buddha Kola-Hala. Okay. So let's go back to just now. All right. So we will not go into this book. This book is too thick to read. Okay. Now next person. So okay. Who want to volunteer to read this one? Anybody want to volunteer? How about Brother Ong? You want to read? Do you want to read, Brother Ong?
Let others have a chance.
Okay, okay. Other, please read. All right. So you mute your microphone, all right? So, anybody? How about Brother Tony? You want to read? Brother Tony?
Yep. Okay.
Okay, all right. Yes.
Okay. Plowing festival.
Hmm.
A very remarkable incident took place in his childhood. It was an unprecedented spiritual experience, which later, during his search after truth, served as a key to his enlightenment. To promote agriculture, the king arranged for a plowing festival. It was indeed a festive occasion for all, as both nobles and commoners, decked in their best attire, participated in the ceremony. On the appointed date, the king, accompanied by his courtiers, went to the field, taking with him the young prince together with the nurses. Placing the child
Honor.
on
Honor.
a
Okay.
screen canopied couch under the cool shade of a solitary rose apple tree, to be watched by the nurses. The king participated in the plowing festival. When the festival was at its height of gaiety, the nurses too stole away from the prince's presence to catch a glimpse of the wonderful spectacle.
Okay, please continue. Yeah.
Okay. In striking contrast to the mirth and merriment of the festival, it was all calm and quiet under rose apple tree. All the conditions conducive to quiet meditation being there, the pensive child, young in years but old in wisdom, sat cross-legged and seized the opportunity to commence that all-important practice of intent, concentration on the breath, on exhalation and inhalations, which gained for him then and there that one-pointedness of mind known as samadhi, and he thus developed the first jhana. The child's nurses, who had abandoned their precious charge to enjoy themselves at the festival, suddenly realizing that duty, hastened to the child and were amazed to see him sitting cross-legged, plunged in deep meditation. The king, hearing of it, hurried to the spot and, seeing the child in meditative posture, saluted him, saying, "This, dear child, is my second obeisance."
Okay, now this is a second obeisance. Can you remember when is the first one?
The first was when the father brought the child to Kondana, where
Not
twisted the leg.
Konanya, the Asita. Asita, his teacher.
Asita, where
Yes.
the priest twisted his leg
Yes.
among the hairs.
Okay. Can you turn on your video? Let us see you. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So that's a second. Now this is a second occasion. So the first occasion when the king brought to his previous teacher, and then the feet of the boy put on the head of the teacher. All right. And this is the second one when he saw the child was in meditation posture. Okay. Do you want to analyze it? Okay. Let's do it. Okay. So let's go for this one. All right. So, okay, let's do on these two paragraphs. Do you think there's any significant point here?
Yeah, the significance is for a young boy at this age able to sit and meditate and attain jhana, the first
Okay.
jhana.
The first channel. Okay. Yeah. Okay, now we go for this ploughing ceremony.
ceremony.
Okay, so significance is the child means that the baby meditated and attained the first jhana, samatha, okay?
Yeah.
So, and at that time, anybody teach him?
He was alone.
Yeah, he was alone, okay? Alone, okay? Alone and without teacher, right?
Yeah.
He
He
said
was
no
quiet,
teacher.
nobody disturbed him. Yeah.
Okay, so do you think that why can he meditate without any teacher? Why? No teacher, but he can meditate himself.
He was, everybody abandoned him
Okay,
and
so
been alone and lonely.
left
He
alone,
sat and
okay,
meditated.
and meditated.
Yeah.
Okay, this is due to the present time, okay, at that time, okay, present
Yeah.
time. And another one due to the something happened into past life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely it's due to the past life.
Past life. Yeah.
So past life. If we are talking present time, we must talk about past time. So present life, he left alone and he meditated, right? So past life, and then what happened? He practices.
Meditation.
Yes, he practices meditation many times before, right?
Yeah.
So that's why he instantly.
Natural for him when
yeah, it's natural for him to practice meditation. Yeah. So this is an important point. Meditation. Okay. So and then what else?
The other one is his father bowing down to him for
Okay.
the second time.
Right. Yes.
Saluted
Okay.
him. Yeah.
So the king, the
For the king
father,
to salute the son. Yeah.
okay, saluted the son, okay, for the second time. Okay. Why is it so amazed about this?
That means the father knew about
Yeah.
the son attainment of certain level.
The son's attainment
Son achievement. Yeah.
of certain attainment, okay, achievement also of certain level. Yeah. Actually, the father also admired the son, right?
Yeah.
But it's later because of his attachment, he cannot don't want the son to
I think sort of
renounce the world.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Anybody want to add on to this point beside Brother Tony? Thanks, Brother Tony. Anybody want to add on? How about Brother So? Brother So and Chet Moy. There are two of you, so you all got two brain here.
Personally, I will look at it that this passage trying to bring out the Buddha to this past wisdom.
Okay, so you're talking about
The past
the
wisdom
Buddha. Okay, we call the name Bodhisattva, right?
Bodhisattva,
has what? Past wisdom. Okay.
past wisdom
Wisdom. Okay.
that is brought forward to this present life.
Okay, brought over to this life. Okay, good. All right. Yes. Okay, how about Brother So? Okay, or any other student, what else do you want to add on? Okay, now we open out. So anybody, if you got extra point, you can just add on, right? Okay, I show the paragraph again. So do you have any idea?
So I think it's a custom. It shows the custom of the time.
What kind of custom?
The king, the normally the last time they appoint the king because he become chief of the field, so he's the one who does the first plow. And normally now this carry on in the present generation. So king of Thailand so go and plow the field.
Okay. So the king, you say it's a custom to show that the importance of the ploughing ceremony, is it?
Yeah, farming.
Yeah, okay, maybe talking about the custom of the ploughing or okay, the king is the one that the king led, right? The king led this festival, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So he's the started one. All right. So there's also one thing here. Okay, good. All right. And also, anybody want to add on? How about Venerable Bante and Venerable Saranandi? What else do you want to add on?
Saji Keng here.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this incident allowed this Siddhartha to become enlightened because he recalled, later age about his.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Okay.
So during the enlightenment highlight or before, just before the enlightenment, okay? Just before the enlightenment. So the Bodhisattva actually used this method, right? This method is because at that time he was very do the fasting, right? So his body was very weak. So use this method of jhana, right? Of jhana. Okay, jhana to calm down his mind and gain peace, right? Because before that his mind was not peaceful enough. So he needs some peace mind, then he can proceed to vipassana. All right. So we can do this is a kind of like intermediate practice for him to go to the next step. Okay. So all right, now we are still on the chapter 1. There's still something to go, right? So we finish this now. One thing about this book, it has mentioned about all the sutta. So if you're interested, you can go back to the sutta. Okay, we finish now. So education and marriage. So somebody want to read this? Education and marriage. Anybody want to volunteer? Okay. Anybody want to volunteer?
I'll read this.
Okay. Yes.
Education.
Mm-hmm.
As a royal child, Prince Siddhartha must have received an education that became a prince. Although no details are given about it, as a scion of the warrior race, he received special training in the art of warfare.
Okay. So based on this, what do you think is the importance of this?
He received both maybe what you can say is a mundane training.
Okay.
That is the art of warfare, and then he probably also received spatial skills in terms of knowledge.
All right. So you talking about soft one is education, hard one is also in warfare, right? So in Chinese we call it 文武双全, right? So here actually, okay, besides this, we're talking about his in terms of like worldly education and then about warfare, right? So this is the first one, all right? Okay, what's the next?
The skill, worldly skill.
Okay, so all these are worldly education, worldly skill, right? Worldly skills, worldly education. Okay, right. So yes, what's the next significance that you can think about this?
So he got special coaching because
yeah,
presumably he must have very good teachers to teach him.
Of course, very good. So of course, yes. Besides this, what else? What do you think is important?
I think the emphasis on the warrior race. So his training on the art of warfare must be very unique in a way.
Okay, unique way. So anyway, just say that he received we can say top of education, right? Of course, he's as a prince. This is the one. Okay. So another point, I think I want to say another point. Another point means that to show the Bodhisattva was how to say
capable.
Was capable, capable because to answer any questions, like because in the future, okay, in the future, because later in the question, in the future, people will come and ask him about this and that, right? All the what from the audience, okay. Well, later there will be king, such as the king, the Brahmin, Deva, all people will come to the Buddha, for this Buddha, and ask also a question. And then they want also ask him about like Vedic question, Sanskrit question, he also can answer because he already educated in all this, right? So actually all this education, even though it worry, it actually to prepare the Buddha, Bodhisattva, for the future also. Okay?
These are the deduction.
Yeah. All these are the deduction, or we call it significance. Yeah. But actually in future he really has to answer because also people really come and test the Buddha, right? Because some will not accept he was a Buddha, so they will test him, ask him all difficult questions. Yeah, that's why in many sutta we see people also offer question just to test whether he capable enough, has enough wisdom to tackle their question. So that means that he need to have enough skills and also wisdom, right, for the future. So it's kind of like preparation also. Worldly knowledge, all these are helpful to him also. Okay? Can you follow?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to read? Continue read. Okay, just now you was just married life. Yeah. All right. You have the book, right? Just read. Yeah.
They're quite long, married life.
Okay, just skip the one in italic. All right, just read the one in, okay, at the early age of 16.
At the early age of 16, he married his beautiful cousin, Princess Yasodhara, who was of equal age. For nearly 13 years after his happy marriage, he led a luxurious life, blissfully ignorant of the vicissitudes of life outside the palace gates. Of his luxurious life as prince, he states, I was delicate, excessively delicate. In my father's dwelling, 3 lotus ponds were made purposely for me. Blue lotuses bloomed in one, red in another, and white in another. I used no sandalwood that was not of Kasi. My turban, tunic, dress, and cloak were all from Kasi. Night and day, a white parasol was held over me so that I might not be touched by heat or cold, dust, leaves, or dew. There were 3 palaces built for me, one for the cool season, one for the hot season, and one for the rainy season. During the 4 rainy months, I lived in a palace for the rainy season without ever coming out from it. Entertained all the while by female musicians, just as in the houses of others. Food from the husk of rice together with sour gruel is given to the slaves and workmen. Even so, in my father's dwelling, food with rice and meat was given to the slaves and workmen.
Okay, continue.
With the march of time, truth gradually dawned upon him. His contemplative nature and boundless compassion did not permit him to spend his time in the mere enjoyment of the fleeting pleasures of the royal palace. He knew no personal grief, but he felt a deep pity for suffering humanity. Amidst comfort and prosperity, he realized the universality of sorrow.
Okay. Right. So, okay, Brother Ko already read. So somebody want to do analysis from this married life? Anybody want to volunteer? Oh, Brother Ko, you want to say something?
Well, maybe so far we haven't analyzed about the background of
Okay.
the society then.
All right.
So here in this case, on the italic part, it shows that they are very prosperous and very rich in a way,
Okay.
and the so-called what they call show of wealth, like
So well.
first pawn,
Okay.
where each pawn has very specific color. This is probably the way the rich and famous what they call protrude their wealth,
Okay.
show their wealth, show their
Alright.
status.
Okay.
And
So
then
all this show that
similarly,
he's a very luxurious life. Yeah. Okay.
and then the Kasi, I think later in some of the sutta, did mention about some other rich man about Kasi clothes, Kasi items.
Here the footnote say Kasi is a province in India, not for silk.
Ah,
Modern Benares means Varanasi. Yeah, in India is a good for the silk. So this one is still here. Actually, we can see some history already, Kasi, where the things coming from. Yeah. Okay. Now about these three palaces, what do you think is this time to tell us about this? Why is it this the Buddha want to tell us about the three palaces?
is to indicate the three seasons that exist in India. Then, and that's one. Secondly, is also the narration of the way he lives. Is they are so well off that they don't have to actually leave the house, and everything is been considered and provided for him.
Okay. So beside that, do you think that at that time is showing this is the Bodhisattva body subject to hot and cold? Do you think that will he have suffering, body suffering?
Yeah, he do have. That's why later stage he realized that his way of living must have given him some sort of items to reflect.
Okay, but I think at this point it tells us that because I live in Myanmar. Myanmar had three seasons. I know the difficulty. Like cold is cold. And then hot is very hot. I would say it's very hot. It's 42 degrees. And raining season now, lots of mosquito, very small mosquito. So here my body is subject to all these bodily pain, body suffering. But if they have for this bodhisattva, he had three palaces built for him. This means that I will assume at that time he will not suffer anything at all because it's so luxurious. Like a very hot place, he have kind of like aircon room. Right? Rainy season he will not meet the mosquito, and then the cold season he will have a carpet being put on the they say carpet up and down the whole building. So his place is so warm. So he will not have any bodily suffering. But you say later, the truth, even though he had no suffering, he will have compassion. He has a contemplative nature. The wisdom arises by himself. Because I think you all heard the story, right? The father will not let the people let him see the old man, sick man, die man, but he still be able to meditate. He still be able to perceive the truth. This means that it shows that the wisdom is very deep in him. Okay, all right. Okay, but this really, I would say from these three palaces and all this, it really show that he has no bodily suffering at all. Of course, at that time he's still young. He will not see any suffering at all due to the weather changes. All right. Okay. All right.
Again,
Yes.
Sumita, I like to add the point. During the plowing festival, it was also mentioned that even though he's very young in years, but old in wisdom.
Yeah, right. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So, okay, we are going to write the point here. He's talking about this one is a married life. Oh, yeah, we also talking about this married life. All right. Okay, now married life. At the age of 16, he married his beautiful cousin. Actually, at that time, who was the most beautiful one? Do you know that? According to the story, who was the most beautiful? Karyana, Janapada Karyani, one, right? And then the Nanda, the Mahapajapati Gotami, she has one daughter called Nanda. They were also beautiful. But they say actually Yasodhara was one of the most beautiful also. So this means that he has a very beautiful wife. So later, it will show that when he let go the wife, let go the son, it's actually not easy because the wife is really very beautiful. All right. So let's go for this 3 point. Okay. So married life and comfortable, right? And beside married life, is talking about that he has everything he wants. All right. He has at the time, how is it? He has a wife. Okay. He has a wife. This means all the sensual. Is talking about we are talking about sensual, and also plus the all the sensual pleasure, right? And the point that talking about three palaces, all right, is talking about he has no bodily suffering, right? Due to the weather, okay? Due to the changes of the weather. Okay, later what happened? Then later he's so number 3. Okay, number 3 talking about later his wisdom arose. He's talking about that. I think later you will talk about how the wisdom arose. Okay, now renunciation. Okay, I think renunciation is interesting to read. Yeah. Okay, somebody want to read? How about Sumita? You want to read? Sumita?
Okay, thank
Mhm.
you. Renunciation. Prince
Mhm.
Siddhartha reflected thus: why do I, being subject to birth, decay, disease, death, sorrow, and impurities, thus search after things of like nature? How, if I, who am subject to things of such nature, realize their disadvantages and seek after the unattained, unsurpassed, perfect security, which is nibbana, cramped and confined is household life, a den of dust, but the life of the homeless one is as the open air of heaven. Hard is it for him who bides at home to live out, as it should be lived, the holy life in all its perfection, in all its purity. One glorious day, as he went out of the palace to the pleasure park to see the world outside, he came in direct contact with the stark realities of life. Within the narrow confines of the palace, he saw only the rosy side of life, but the dark side, the common lot of mankind, was purposely veiled from him. What was mentally conceived, he for the first time vividly saw in reality. On his way to the park, his observant eyes met the strange sights of a decrepit old man, a diseased person, a corpse, and a dignified hermit. The first 3 sights convincingly proved to him the inexorable nature of life and the universal ailment of humanity. The fourth signified the means to overcome the ills of life and to attain calm and peace. These 4 unexpected sights served to increase the urge in him to love and renounce the world.
Okay, so up to this point, you make your own analysis. Okay, renunciation. Yeah.
The what? He reflected, and then he is. That means he has a very intuitive mind.
Okay.
Intuitive mind. He questioned himself. Why is he been? There's that means there's a body, and then means subject to birth, decay, disease, death, sorrow, impurities. So he is always searching after things of such nature, inquisitive, and then want to know. That means how to end this cycle of samsara.
Okay.
He wants to seek the truth.
Okay. So
the answer.
talking about renunciation. Okay.
Yes.
On this is why first he realized that he is subjected to
birth,
all right,
decay, disease, and he wants to seek the truth of how to end such suffering.
To end such suffering.
He realized the disadvantage and seek after the unattained.
Okay.
He wants, that means he's seeking for nibbana.
Okay, for nibbana, all right, for unattained nibbana.
So he felt that the household life wasn't good, so he preferred a homeless life.
Okay, so
he wants to renounce.
So he feel he aware the household life was according to him is a cram, all right?
Yes.
Right? So he prefer the renunciate life.
Yes, holy life.
Renunciate life is he say as a open air.
Renunciation, open air.
Open. Okay. Yeah. Okay,
and then so on the glorious day, he went out of the palace. he really want to see the reality of life. So he
Okay.
wants to get direct contact with such relatives rather than stay in the palace
Palace,
wall.
yeah. Okay.
So rosy, the life, all this and that. So he wants to really see the reality of suffering.
All right. So what did he see?
So he saw the four sides of an
Okay.
old man, a sick man, a corpse, and lucky finally the fourth side he saw the hermit. So
Okay.
the first three sides already convinced
Three
him.
sides is the, we call it the, these three sides, we call it the what? Old,
Old, the sick
and dead.
man, and the
Okay.
corpse, the dead man.
Okay. So these three sides, how do we call it? These three sides, you know? Is there a name? You know, how do we call these three sides? And then of course the fourth side is the holy man, right? So how do
Yeah,
we call these three sides?
Dhammaduta.
samsara, lor.
Dhammaduta, okay.
uh,
And what else?
dukkha.
Okay, dukkha, all right. So we call it dukkha. And then Brother Ong, you say what? The what? Dhammaduta?
Yeah, Dhammaduta.
Dhammaduta, okay. What is the other
Mm.
name? So we call it actually the one universal suffering.
Or universal suffering.
So it's happened to everybody, all right? Even
As
like
long as
Deva,
there's birth.
okay. And then the fourth side is holy man.
The
right?
hermit.
So what does it signify? Holy man means you
Holy
already
man,
mentioned,
yeah, that means he realized that the sense pleasure, which is a highly prized thing for the worldling, so that's the reason why he decided to leave the palace
Okay.
life in
Okay.
order to seek the truth. That means
All right.
he's the truth seeker.
Okay.
He
So
wants
the holy
eternal
man
peace.
actually show him the way, right? Show him
Yeah.
the way. Show the way to overcome the suffering, right?
Dukkha,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Right. So up to this part. Okay. 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 Do you want to read some more? Just
Okay.
realizing.
Realizing the worthlessness of sensual pleasures, so highly prized by the worldling, the appreciating the value of renunciation in which the wise seek delight, he decided to leave the world in search of truth and eternal peace. When this final decision was taken after much deliberation, the news of the birth of a son was conveyed to him while he was about to leave the park. Contrary to expectations, he was not overjoyed, but regarded his first and only offspring as an impediment. An ordinary father would have welcomed the joyful tidings. But Prince Siddhartha, the extraordinary father, as he was acclaimed, an impediment, Rahu has been born, a fetter has arisen. The infant son was accordingly named Rahula by his grandfather.
All right. So now we're talking about the son Rahula. Okay, Rahula.
Yeah.
What's the significance of this Rahula? All right. Of course, the name is called impediment has been born.
Yeah.
Right.
So straight away he knows that it's a bondage already.
Okay, to him it's a bondage to him. Okay,
Yeah.
bondage to him. It's like trying to tie him down because now at that time
Yes.
he wanted to renounce. Okay.
Yes.
So the son came, so it's like showing that he got more responsibility. He cannot.
It's an obstacle actually. Rahula means
it's a
an
bondage,
obstacle.
yeah. He cannot just leave it, but finally he left it. But of course, when he left it, a lot of people criticize him, right? Even now.
Yes.
Even nowadays, people will say, why the Buddha, the Bodhisattva left the only son and left the wife to go for renunciation. Okay.
But then he left also in spite of that thought, because he knows that the child Rahula will be well brought up.
Yeah,
because they are so wealthy. They have nurses, and then he got his godmother.
Okay, yeah.
So
Okay.
on.
Thanks.
So
Okay.
his son will be in with good hands, and his wife
Okay.
also. That's why he still live.
All right. Okay. Thanks. Okay. So we will invite next one to read. So we have 1, 2, 3 paragraph about the actual step of renunciation. So any volunteer? Any volunteer? Anybody want to read? How about Brother King? King, brother King, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So the palace was no longer a congenial place to the contemplative Prince Siddhartha. Neither his charming young wife nor his lovable infant son would deter him from altering the decision he had taken to renounce the world. He was destined to play an infinitely more important and beneficial role than a dutiful husband and father, or even as a king of kings. The allurements of the palace were no more cherished objects of delight to him. Time was right to depart. He ordered his favorite charioteer, Chana, to saddle the horse Kataka and went to the suite of apartments occupied by the princess. Opening the door of the chamber, he stood on the threshold and cast his dispassionate glance on the wife and child who were fast asleep. Great was his compassion for the two dear ones at this parting moment. Greater was his compassion for suffering humanity. He was not worried about the future worldly happiness and comfort of the mother and the child, as they had everything in abundance and were well protected. It was not that he loved them the less, but he loved humanity more.
Okay. Right. So what is the significance of these three paragraphs?
This one is mentioning about his renunciation, want to away from the palace.
Okay, so the first point is renunciation.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then?
So for him, he got to it's a very difficult decision because as a husband and a father, he has to forego the responsibilities and the duties in order to renounce.
Okay, decision to renounce. Okay. Yeah, because he got the father duty and husband duty. Yeah. Okay. 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 And what else?
He already made up his decision and arranged for his charioteer to bring him his horse to go, to go out.
All right. Okay, now you see how many important people here. There's a charioteer, Channa, and then the horse Kandaka. You heard about these two, right? The charioteer, which also later ordained as a monk,
Yeah.
and then the horse Kandaka, all right? And according to some story, they are born together, right? They call it the birth mate. They're born together same time with the Prince Siddhartha, all right? So these two, they plays an important part at the renunciation. Okay, now, so, all right, so this is important. Greater was his compassion for the suffering humanity, right? He was not worried about the future worldly happiness and comfort of the mother and child, as they had everything in abundance, well protected. Yeah. So this is actually very important for people. So if people ask you why the Buddha very heartless, he just left the world, you should quote this one. He has more compassion for the suffering of humanity. And then the child and mother, they are well protected.
Yeah.
Okay? It was not because he loved them less, but he loved humanity more. So actually, this is very important. So for anybody, if people want to argue, you always can really just quote from this paragraph. Okay. Yes. And all right. So any other important point?
So he is confident that the mother and child are taken care of. But one thing I want to find out is that they depart at night, it seems.
Yeah, depart at night. Why? Why they depart at night? Not in the daytime. Not just go out from the front door, Why? So that means he left quietly, right? Yeah. Okay, so yeah, it's also important, He departed at night time. Left quietly, Even the horse very he asked the horse to go very quietly. So why? Why so secret? Or you can say secretly. Why?
So that he can go without much obstruction or hindrance from
Yeah,
others.
right, yeah. So less so no obstruction. Who will obstruct him?
The king.
From
the
who? Yeah,
father,
from the king, and who else? The wife also, maybe.
the wife.
Maybe the wife or servant. Yeah,
Yeah.
servant. But actually, according to some of the story, they say the Yasodhara knew that he wanted to renounce. So some of the stories say Yasodhara pretended to be sleeping at that time. You know, but actually we cannot say the wife, because according to many stories, the Yasodhara was his partner for many past life. You know, partner when he was if he not renounced and they married together in the past life. So actually, she supported him every of his renunciation. All right, so she will not obstruct him. Yeah. Okay. Past life. Yeah. Many past life. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. Right. Okay. Thanks. Okay, Brother King. Okay. So we still have half hour. Let me see. Yeah, we are going to read. Yes, somebody want to read the next one.
Yes, Saji. Cole
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
So I think I read somewhere in
Mm-hmm.
one of the sutta or something like that. That he mentioned that the was actually crying.
Crying. Oh yeah. Yes. You mentioned somebody was crying. Who was crying? Just now your voice was not clear just now. Can you repeat your question again?
I think the father and mother.
Oh, the father and
I think
mother
the
was
father and the
crying.
mother.
Yeah.
Is that parents?
Yes. There was I think there was one text, so they say, despite, it's actually mentioned in one text, despite father and mother
Lamenting.
was lamenting, and then the prince Siddhartha left. Yeah, there was one statement in this
Sutta, no?
one of the sutta. Yeah. In the, I think
I
the
think
Arya
Arya is
Pariyaya
not
sutta. Yeah, one of the sutta. But it's not possible. But maybe I think the Pali. I think the Pali is we have to look at the way how they translate the Pali, right? Because I think the way I say, I think this is genitive absolute. Yeah. So for those Pali, it's actually talking about the when the father and mother was lamenting something like that, and then he was left. Yeah. But it looked like the father mother was crying at the time when he left. But we have to go back to original Pali to check how they translate the things. Okay. All right. Yeah, there was actually really one translation. So we need to check I think Arya Pariyaya. All right. But actually they cannot, of course the father mother will cry definitely, because especially the father, and then the mother is the Mahapajapati. Because they love the son, it's the only son. Actually at the time King Sudarana had how many sons? Do you know? Okay, so they have a Prince Siddhartha. Who else? Prince Nanda
Nanda.
and Princess Nanda. All right. So Prince Siddhartha is by the Mahamaya. All right. Prince Nanda and Nanda is by the Pajapati Gotami. So totally there are 3 children, right? 3 children. So later the Nanda married the Nanda, sibling, they marry each other. Yeah, it's a custom at the time. Yeah, even the Sakyan race, the first Sakyan race, the brother and sister married together. They're the very, very first Sakyan race. Yeah. So actually at that time they had 3 children. Okay. Of course the Prince Siddhartha is the crown prince, the eldest. So let me see. Nanda. Okay, I think the book also show us some. Later we see the. Okay. Let's see. Is it? Do you see that? Prince Siddhartha, Nanda, Sudarin Nanda. Right? So these two. Nanda was engaged to the Nanda. Not married yet, but engaged. Alright. So
Sayagyi, I thought they was in the process of being married on that day.
yeah. Not married yet. It's getting married. Yeah.
But then I thought
Engagement day. Right?
But is it the sister Nanda, or I thought it may be a different, but it's related to them, but it may be another Nanda.
Right. Actually, I heard it's them, But actually, because of this, it's kind of like sensitive, because especially in Chinese, those who are similar, even like similar blood, will not get married. But I heard the story; they are quite same. Nanda, right? Nanda Tera. Okay, you see. On the third day of the king visit to Kapilavastu, the Buddha went to Nanda, married to the Janapada Karani Nanda, right? So we must find who is this Nanda, all right? So we have to find this Nanda, all right? So let's see.
She's supposed to be the most beautiful girl in the country.
Yeah, so who is the most beautiful girl in the country?
This one, Dandala, that one.
We have to look for the Nanda.
Janapada Kulayani.
Janapada Karani Nanda.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. She was the daughter of Suddhodana. Okay. Yeah. Later, of course, she become the. No, okay. She was the this one. So you see, Sundari Nanda. This Sundari Nanda, who was the sister of Nanda Thera. Later, she become Nanda Thera. So Sundari Nanda. All right. Okay. Let's go back to this one. Okay. So we trace the history now. Okay. So you have so because it's actually the first Sakyan race, they really the sibling marry each other. The very first Sakyan race. Okay, she was daughter of Suddhodana and Mahabharati, and she was the sister of Nanda Thera. And then her name was Sundari Nanda. All right. Okay, so means that Sundari Nanda was supposed to Nanda Thera. Okay, Nanda. Okay. Okay, her name is Jarakani Nanda. Do you see that? So her name is Jana Padakari Nanda. Yeah, all right. Nanda is a just name, but her name is Karani means the Miss Universe or Miss Karani is beautiful. Janapada is the what is it, province, the most beautiful girl in the province, something like that. All right. Okay, so her name is Sundari Nanda. Right, Sundari Nanda. So later she become Nanda Devi. Right? And then she was the daughter of Suddhodana and Nanda. Okay, now we trace the story of Nanda. Go back to Nanda. So Nanda is this one. Go back to Nanda. Okay. Nanda was a Thera, half of brother. So on the third day, the Buddha go there, and then he's supposed to marry to the Janapada Nanda, right? Okay, so this Nanda is supposed to marry to this Nanda, alright? So this Nanda should be this one, 10%.
But tak jadi.
Okay, Nanda. It's just a title here. Yeah. Because Sakyan race, they always marry to each other. They don't marry outside people. So the cousin, first cousin and first cousin. So maybe this Nanda is either the daughter or this Mahapajatami, or maybe she's another one. So it's not very sure here. So if you don't like them to be siblings, so we take it she's one of the deities or in the second race. Okay. But I read somewhere they might be siblings, you know. Yeah, okay. Anyway, it's not important. I think even the exam will not ask this kind of question. But at least at this point, we need to know. Okay, we need to know that at this point is
but the marriage was not fulfilled, right, Sagi?
not fulfilled,
Because
of course,
Nanda,
yeah. Not fulfilled,
Nanda,
but the intention is to marry all of them. Yeah. Okay. Whether it's sibling or not sibling, really have to find out. But I read some part they say it's sibling. So because the first time I read, I was so surprised also. But the culture is different. India culture and our culture is very different. Okay, now from this story, and then we say why he left secretly, right? Why he left secretly? Because don't need to have is obstruction. That's why the horse and then the chana, they really help him to renounce the world. Okay, and then so we go back to this secretly and then continue. All right, so somebody want to read, and then who else want to read? How about Melinda Chan Chuyong? Can you read?
Okay, so
Yes.
I read from this paragraph.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Leaving all behind, he stole away with a light heart from the palace at midnight and rode into the dark, attended only by his loyal charioteers. Alone and penniless, he set out in search of truth and peace. Thus did he renounce the world. It was not the renunciation of an old man who has had his fill of worthy life. It was not the renunciation of a poor man who had nothing. And cannot read some more.
Okay. Some more.
Who had nothing to leave behind. It was the renunciation of a prince in the full bloom of youth and in the plenitude of wealth and prosperity, a renunciation unparalleled in history. He was in his 29th year that Prince Siddhartha made this historic journey. He journeyed far and crossing the river Anoma rested on his banks. Here he shaved his hair and beard, and handing over his garments and ornaments to Channa with instruction to return to the palace. Assumed that the simple yellow garb of an ascetic and led a life of voluntary poverty. The ascetic Siddhartha, who once lived in the lap of luxury, now became a penniless wanderer, living on what little the charitably minded gave of his own accord. He had no permanent abode. A shady tree or a lonely cave sheltered him by day or night. Barefooted and bareheaded, he walked in the scorching sun and in the piercing cold, with no possessions to call his own, but a bowl to collect his food and robes, just sufficient to cover the body. He concentrated all his energies on the quest of truth.
Okay, I think no more. Okay, up to this point. Okay, so which do you think is the important point?
Okay, he without any worries of his family, he left the palace to look for the truth.
Okay.
And then he has nothing, but he has nothing, but he is willing to go for this suffering to get to know the truth. And then more.
Right.
So
this
far,
talking about how he made the renunciation and what kind of how called the look, right? his look.
Yes, yes.
Right.
He shaved his hair and beard and only wearing robes.
So his
compared
aesthetic
to
look, all right? Aesthetic look
yeah.
will be what? Shave the
Shave,
hair. Okay.
shave the hair and shave the beard.
Yellow.
Yellow.
And
then he wear the yellow robe.
And beard.
Compare with his luxurious life in the palace.
And then he only has one alms bowl, right?
Yes, alms bowl, and depend on the others to give him the food.
Okay.
Or survive on others.
Okay, so
Then,
this contrast to the
luxury life in the palace, where he has everything he wants. Then,
okay. Right.
More.
And also, there's another important point. It's talking about renunciation of the prince in full bloom of the youth.
That means he renounced at a very young age. Age. Where else some they renounce at the old age.
Okay, so renounce, we call it, he made renunciation at the how is it? The word at
his prime age.
His prime age.
Prime age.
Yeah, not because of getting old or sick.
Yeah.
You know? Because in some places when people getting old, getting sick, no place, so they come to Buddhist center to live. Okay. So it's here we call it voluntary.
He's voluntary. He's doing it voluntary because of his compassion for the humanity.
Okay, good. All right. Okay, so this is a significant point here, right?
Okay. He didn't. He didn't. I mean, he can stand the hardship.
Yeah.
When he renounced the hardship, he faced.
So
he faced
the hardship. Yeah. It's very hard for him, of course, because like just now we say he stay in the 3 palaces. His life is so luxurious, no hot, no cold, you know. And then everybody take care of him, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And also he believed at this young age, he can he can stand the sufferings also.
Yeah. Okay. So we still have, I think, 3 pages to go, but I think it's okay. Today is just first session, so we will stop here. So any feedback? So we just stop for a while. Any feedback, and maybe you all can just say how should we improve this session? Anybody think about anything to do? Anybody interested to write something like just now? If you want to write about the birth of the Buddha, the key point, you can just write, and then when I got time, I will read it and give comments. All right. But I suggest vulnerable to vulnerable. Yeah, you all should really, if you are not taking any other course, you all should not taking any other Buddhism course, right? You all should write something like this and to prepare. Let's say if people ask you the importance of the birth of the Buddha, or the importance of renunciation of the Buddha, you know. Okay, so let us guess what kind of topic will come out from this chapter. For those, let's say if somebody asks, what kind of question? Okay, let's say. So normal kind of questions will come out, right? So anybody can give answers. What do you think the question will come out? Describe the renunciation of the Bodhisattva, all right? Then maybe the first question will come out based on this. Okay, any other question? Maybe why the Prince Siddhartha renounced the world? Okay. Okay, so this is the second question. And then what else? What are the 4 signs? Okay, and anybody can suggest any other question will come up. Okay.
What level of taking what exam? Is it
Basic
degree or
Buddhism.
diploma?
No, for entrance exam for the 2 vulnerables, I actually
So
suggest them to come
diploma
to
or
my
degree?
no entrance exam for diploma. Entrance exam.
Oh, see.
Yeah. Right. So they will cover one of the paper will be about basic Buddhism, another one will be English test, okay? But we don't know what kind of exam. So when we go through this chapter, myself prepare some of the possible questions they will come up. All right. So beside this, renunciation. Okay, so we look at the point just now. Yeah, so departed, renunciation, married life, education, clouding ceremony, and then significance. Maybe talking about significance, all right? So maybe sometime because nowadays maybe talk about the significance of Asoka Pila, you know, in Lumbini. Right? So this kind of question might possibly come. Right? So this is talking about on a historical point. So it, at least you know, like 623 BC, like this.
Actually, Sagi, actually you can go deeper now if you want to.
Yeah, yeah, of course. What kind of question that you think that can go deeper?
Asuka Pila can go back up to Swan Chang and then go to the Cunningham. You can bring all those in.
Oh yeah. But of course,
but if you at this level, I think you don't need lah.
no need lah. But at least it's talking about for this first chapter, they only will be Lumbini, right? During for this first chapter. Okay, so for two vulnerables, do you have any questions? Bante, do you want to ask something?
No questions so far.
No questions so far. Okay. All right. So, well, normally I would suggest for those who taking, if you want to write, I mean, but I think both of you are very busy also because you all also attend the other courses. So actually, for those who, after we do this active learning, can you see my screen, Hannah? After active learning, active participation, and then you read, and we already read and analyze it, and we learn to ask the question who, what, when. Actually, for those who interested, you can write short assignment, right? And then based on any question we asked just now, and then you, if you receive feedback, then we can improve it. All right, but it's not necessary because we just introduction course only. Okay. All right. So next week, I think Thursday, still on Thursday because Thursday I'm free. All right. But in next month, maybe not Thursday. All right. So I will announce it in this my